Welcome to another episode of our twisting tutorials due to popular demand, talking about the science and biomechanics of twisting to hopefully help you understand a little bit more about what is actually happening. I've had a lot of great support for this channel and an appreciation for a deeper dive into the knowledge and the science, because you won't be able to find any other videos like this on the internet. Very few people truly understand how it works, and I'm always happy to hear that things have worked out, but of course they have. It's science and it's physics. I've gone through hundreds of comments and found some really great questions from all of the videos. So I'm going to explain some of the answers here so it's all in one place. And sometimes it is just easier to explain and demonstrate it rather than write it. So this episode will be about answering some of the best and most commonly asked questions that I've heard. And I do apologize, I will be reading somewhat off my screen. I've written down exactly what I want to say so I don't get off track and so that I don't miss anything. So with the help of my trusty assistant here and some videos, let us boost our knowledge. And I want to also share some revelations I've had whilst coaching some athletes to their Olympic Games that will definitely help you learn and or teach a good twist, not just the ones that we see of people hucking themselves off their backyard trampolines. Ugh, don't learn from these. So let's get straight into questions from the fans. Should we learn a barani as a round off or a front half twist? As explained in the barani video, it's definitely not a round off, and typically you will twist the opposite way to your round off on the floor. But this is not always the case, but to ensure you don't accidentally end up twisting forwards in one direction and backwards in the other direction, learn a barani as a front tuck half out. You want to teach yourself to twist later rather than earlier, and this becomes very important when adding more twists later on. I've had a lot of people ask me for tips about how to avoid getting lost in the air, so I'm going to explain why people actually get lost in the air, and it comes back to doing a good barani. This leads to a second question that someone asked about advice on early twisting, and the overall answer to both of these questions is about why we really do need to learn a barani properly. When teaching ourselves, people are not patient and you start twisting immediately, which works for a barani. But what happens is you actually get familiarized with the exact timing of where your body is in space, so your spatial awareness orientates around being in this certain position at this exact time. So in doing a barani, if you twist early, you're used to being this far into the twist, so a quarter twist in, when your body is at this angle at this moment in your trajectory. But when doing a back full, what will happen is you will try and find this point as quickly as possible in order to orientate yourself as to where you are in the air. So normally if you twist really early into your barani, also it's the wrong direction, really early into your barani, and your back full or your double full will need to twist extremely fast in order for you to find this position, and then it's basically a 360 in the layout. If you miss your reference point in space by having a good takeoff and then waiting a little bit until twisting at the right time, you'll actually get quite disorientated and your timing will be all off. When learning a barani properly by twisting later, you will be used to having a quarter twist left in your rotation in this position here. So when you do back full with a good takeoff and patience, you will more readily find this position when coming into the landing. The start of the full will still require some practice, which is why we do the half to crash dive and we combine all the things together. But in the end, coming into landing, you'll find yourself in a familiar position and your body will strive to get into this position and you'll know what to do once you are there. The same thing goes for Rudy, which is a 1.5 twist forwards. If you have a nice delayed start into your Rudy, when you do a double full, all you will do is you'll find yourself just doing a nice kind of cruise into the familiar Rudy position and then finishing the twist the same way that you finish a Rudy. Is twisting a conservation of angular momentum, or is it more about the levers? It's both. The twist only works, the tilt twist only works when you are flipping, and momentum is transferred to a perpendicular axis when you tilt. And the twist is just a combination of the two vectors, the forces on your body trying to stabilize your flight. So without the twist, your body would just wobble uncontrollably through the air like a frisbee that doesn't have enough spin on it. If you whip a frisbee through the air with a lot of spin, it gets this nice stabilized flight. Our bodies are also trying to find stabilization whilst managing two different force vectors at the same time. Energy is transferred from the flip into the twist when we tilt, but the sum of both the twist and what's left of the flip adds up to what you originally had when you were just flipping. Which begs the question, does your flip slow down when you add tilt and twist? Yes, it does. So as you add more and more twists and faster twists, you may need to compensate for less rotation overall by setting more at the start. It's a little more complicated than that, of course, because if you consider the other things that are happening, if you do a tilt twist and you drop your arms, you start in a longer shape and your body gets smaller with the arm drops, which should accelerate your flip. At the same time, energy is being transferred into the tilt, which takes energy away from your flip, and that's a very complicated calculation that we don't need to get into. Also, the transfer of angular momentum is proportionate to the amount of flip. So if you're flipping slowly and you drop your arm, let's say 10% is transferred to the twist. So for a slow rotation, we'll create slow twist per arm drop. If you're flipping quickly and you do the same movement, 10% again will go into the twist, but overall the amount is higher. Because you have more momentum, the twist will be faster with the same movement. The more you're flipping, the less effort it takes to create twist from the same movement. Here's a really good example of using the levers to control the angular momentum. So in the first one here, my arms are close to my body because I need it to spin faster. And the same skill again, the arms are wider because I have too much power and I need to slow it down. Can you start with your arms down? Yes, and I've had a lot of fun playing with this particular method. Instead of dropping from an arms up takeoff, you can actually lift your arms up to the sides from an arms down takeoff. But be mindful that you will need to adjust for your rotation. When your arms come up at the start and you drop into the twist, your body gets shorter and will speed up the rotation. When you start with your arms down and then you lift one up as you go into the twist, your body will get longer and therefore suddenly slow down after takeoff. So you will need to set an initial rotation, probably a little bit too much, so that when you do lift your arm up, it will slow itself down to the right rotation, which provides us with the main reason why people find it very hard to learn back tucks and layouts at the start, because they're unable to time their arm swing or their arm lift to coincide with their takeoff. They come off the ground with their arms too low and then throw them up, resulting in the rotation completely dying after takeoff and landing on their head. I have watched this so many times. When learning or teaching, just start with your arms above your head. Don't add the arm swing and don't worry about the timing. We'll just start with the preset and save everything for later. There's enough things already happening to make it complicated that you can remove. So just make things a bit more consistent and easier. Just start with the arms up and do all your flips from this position. How much applies for a front full? Everything. All the biomechanics are the same. We just have to change our arm drops and lifts because we're rotating forwards, and change our untilt because we're going to land from a forwards rotation. So let's have a look. Using our mannequin, if we're doing a back full to the left, rotating this direction, feet coming up towards the screen. When you drop your left arm, your body will twist to the left. Once you reach halfway, you're now technically rotating forwards for a second. But you still drop to that side and you're still rotating the same direction relative to our surroundings. So when we start facing forwards, we'll face this way towards the camera. The rotation will be the same direction relative to the camera. We still need to drop that way on that side to twist to the left, but our left arm is no longer the closest thing. It's now our right arm. So we drop our right arm to that same side. We're still rotating the same direction and we will still twist left. Then for the untilt for a left twister, as you'd come out of your untilt, we would drop our right arm to stop the twist when we're landing in a backwards rotation. So for landing in a forwards rotation, it's the opposite. We actually need to lift our right arm up to the side, which then brings us to diving, and why they use their particular style of twist and how that helps untilt them before impact. The diving technique allows them to easily break out of their twist shape and perform the correct untilt maneuver to end up with their arms up, which they have to do. And they finish in a forwards rotating position, To land from a diver twist, when finishing backwards, the arm tilt would need to look like this, to drop the right arm down to the side to untilt. But to land forwards, the right arm needs to lift so that they can break out as easy as this. What is the cause of sideways drift? The quick answer is an unstable takeoff, but there are many reasons why this can happen. The main ones being that the shoulders are thrown into the twist, causing an imbalance in the takeoff as the body leans over to one side. Usually the lean is away from the arm drop. The arm goes early, which pulls the shoulder, or pushes across the body and pushes you in the other way. Your head looks early, which drops one of the shoulders to the side and creates a kink in the body, which has the same effect. Sometimes the tumbling is crooked, and when someone is coming in from a backflip or a round off, they had a preemptive takeoff and they're already turning their feet as they hit the ground, which of course will end up being crooked. Which brings me to crooked twisting in general, and the main mistakes I see people do while learning and teaching it. Number one, dipping your head into your chest. This will make you crooked and the twist will wobble. Dropping the head moves a mass outside of the axis of rotation and also causes you to hunch your shoulders, which does not look nice, and the spin wobbles and it's no longer aesthetic. It's no longer smooth. Neutral head is best, keeping everything in line. You can look for the ground at the right times, but use your eyes or turn your head within the axis without leaning outside of it. You also shouldn't be trying to look for the ground the whole time. This leads to throwing your head around and it looks really terrible and your body follows and it's extremely disorientating. Consider spinning around, standing on the spot with your eyes closed doing a 360. Generally, you can get pretty close to guessing where you started from. Now, throw your head around and you add complicated angles and movements which throw off your perception and make it much harder to feel what's going on, and they cause an imbalance. Now put that in a back layout with a full twist and we're creating a lot of problems. So basically, the less moving parts there are, the easier it is to feel and adjust what's going on. So keep a neutral head. I've also seen people teaching this double arm drop to the side. I really do not recommend this one. I don't like it, and here is why. In order to drop both arms to the side effectively, you have to already be at a quarter twist, which means you've contact twisted heavily off the ground. If you do manage to drop them in the twist plane, this will most certainly be effective. Double the tilt power in one move, but the consequence is that you're very likely to end up in a hollow shape, scooped, and have a wobbly, messy twist. And you'll land still twisting into the ground because you've had a twist off the ground for the takeoff. If you try and do the double arm drop without a pre-turn, you will need to reach across your body. This is going to create segmentation in your shape and you're no longer symmetrical or straight, and this will also be a mess. The general rule is that you shouldn't have your arms crossing the midline of your body at any point. As soon as you do, you're in two separate pieces. Keep arms to the side as much as possible. They can come slightly forwards or backwards, but generally aim for the sides. Now please note that there is a big difference between dropping your arm to the side and dropping your arm to your side. I found myself explaining this a lot to athletes when I was coaching them. When my arm drops, it must be to the side of the tilt plane. When I'm standing facing forwards like this, the side also happens to be my side. But if I'm pre-turned, I will still need to drop to the side, but this side is no longer at my side. It's now a little bit in front of me. If I drop to my side, I will miss the plane completely and nothing happens. And that's when a lot of the athletes were getting quite confused when I was coaching, because I was saying drop to the side, but they said, oh, but I am dropping to the side, and they were dropping to the side of their body, not the actual side where the twist plane was. So we need to make sure we differentiate for them what the side is and what their side is. We should always be dropping and lifting to the side, which is the twist tilt plane. You'll also need to understand that in order to drop perfectly to the side, you will need to adjust your angle of your arm when it's dropping. You will start twisting as soon as you start dropping it, and if you keep dropping to your side as you rotate, your arm will eventually be out of the twist plane. If your twist is working, that's not a problem, and you've probably hit enough of it to create the twist, so don't change anything. When I watch my videos, I only hit the plane for a fraction of a moment, and that's enough if you're tight. If you need more, however, you'll need to change the drop angle and the position from being from your side to more in front as you turn into your arm. It's impossible to replicate this standing still. You'll need to practice it as you're actually turning on the spot. What is the best arm position? All of them are correct depending on what you need. If you create enough power, you can effectively spin in a star shape if you really want. It doesn't look particularly nice, but it will be spinning, although probably very slowly. Two things to consider are what your sport or activity requires aesthetically. So if you're being judged, are there criteria as to how your body line should look? Having arms down looks very nice and shows a lot of control. Having your arms wrapped is also neat and very tight. I've personally found it really hard to spin when my arms are down by my sides if I'm spinning very quickly. As many people will find when they twist, your legs want to come apart, your body wants to come apart due to the rotational forces involved. And arms being down for me was actually quite hard to hold there, whilst wrapping here was a nice tighter position and easier for me to manage when going like triple twist or quadruple twist. There's no biomechanical difference as such, whether your arms are wrapped in or down, or even above your head. The widest part of your body in all these positions is your shoulders. So this is the longest lever outside the axis, and this will determine the speed of your twist. The diver twist, however, is somewhat wider. Now there are advantages to getting into this position and the power that it creates, but it is in the end a wider shape and therefore creates more power and more tilt to spin fast. This then segues really nicely into another related question on how to keep your legs together. The obvious answer is to be tighter, but let's examine why they're actually coming apart. This is for two reasons. Twisting early creates a spiral in your legs and ankles, which pulls them away and outside the axis of rotation, and they're also a bit looser, and therefore they experience more rotational forces and come apart. The other reason is that you're probably trying to twist a little bit too quickly, too early. If you imagine trying to hold your feet together and someone slowly applies pressure to pull them apart, you can hold them together pretty well. If someone suddenly applies the same force in an instant, it's very hard to hold them together despite the force being the same. When we twist, what we really should be doing is letting the twist happen progressively, gradually. It's a build-up of power. And when we build up at the right speed, everything stays together. You obviously have to be tight, but it's much, much easier when it's progressive acceleration. That's why we do drop, and then another drop, and then a switch and a wrap. It's a progressive acceleration and summation of force. It still happens quickly when they're in real time, but let it build up. This is a good question about should you let your head hit the tramp in a backdrop. I guess it's a personal preference. If there's a deduction for it in trampolining, then the answer is no, don't do it. But personally, I do it. Letting your head contact the trampoline at the same time as your back requires really no effort at all, and you're not fighting that whiplash, which of course if you fail, you get the whiplash, and regardless, your neck is still sore from just straining in this position. I let mine touch the tramp, and I actually use it to generate some more power when going into bigger tricks, doing ball outs and things. If it works, I say do it. When you have more powerful takeoffs and bigger skills than just a backdrop, it is a lot harder to hold that chin in and keep it off the tramp, so I'd say let it touch. How does it work when transitioning between two flips? And the example given here is a tucked barani and then going straight into a back tuck. This is called a half in back out, or a front half in back out. Do you need to kick out of the barani? No would be the official answer. Should you? Yes, maybe. In a tucked barani, the twist is primarily a cat twist, so the kick out itself is the cause of the twist. If you want to avoid the kick out, you need to use the tilt twisting arm actions. What it really comes down to is stopping the twist before going into the back tuck, otherwise you will keep twisting. If you do the kick out, which is a cat twist, it's pretty much effective for only a half twist anyway, and then that's it, and you'll have an easier time then tucking your knees in and going in for a straight back tuck out of that. With a tilted barani, you are going to keep twisting. We can of course note that there is a dramatic change when going from the straight shape into the tuck for the back tuck out, which will, for the most part, stall the twist completely out. But you may still have a little bit left over, so your tuck shape may slowly roll over as you're trying to go directly backwards. You can, however, use the tuck as its own cat twist move and use your hips and knees to effectively undo and reverse the action you've done to create it. The surest way to avoid any unwanted twist when going into that back tuck is to do a mini untilt mid-skill. This can be done by lifting the arm up, like preparing for an untilt, or you can push the arm straight up and then dropping it back down to the side in order to untilt and remove excess twist. This can also coincide with grabbing the knees and pulling them straight over. Ensuring that it's not just tucking your knees in, but actually pulling them in the direction of your rotation will help ensure you've done everything correctly and you are flipping straight up. Now I'll share something I learned from observation while coaching some athletes doing a double full, and they're really struggling despite doing practically everything correct. They were bringing both of their arms in to wrap up for the twist, and it was sort of stalling and they weren't making it around. They were having a really hard time with it. What was happening is that when they were bringing both of their arms into wrap, they were bringing both arms into their midline. This looks really nice when you're standing still, but when you're spinning, you're effectively punching and driving this leading arm, what's meant to be the leading arm, against your rotation and effectively blocking yourself against your own shoulder, which causes a segmentation and disrupts the flow of where your body wanted to go. When wrapping, you might want to think of it in terms of the leading elbow driving the twist and then bringing your midline to that elbow and punch the other arm inwards to follow the correct direction. So you catch up to the elbow that's going around rather than moving it against yourself. To finish off, I'll explain this revelation that I had, and it answers a question finally that has been bugging me for maybe 20 plus years, and it's so simple, but it just never occurred to me until I was explaining something and I was like, oh, I've actually explained the answer that I don't think I know. The question is, why does our body twist left or right when we drop an arm? We know that when we tilt, it creates a twist, and it's a conservation of momentum or rotational inertia. This creates a twist, and we know that it tilts, but why, when dropping the left arm going backwards, why does it twist left and not right? Why does the left twist sum up to a conservation of momentum rather than the right twist? Here is why. When you are rotating in this direction and you add a tilt, the sum of the forces still adds up to, overall, your body rotating this direction. If you were to tilt so hard all the way down, eventually you would just be rotating like this, just a twist. We call it a twist because it's the relationship for our body, but technically you're still just rotating backwards. And this is why you twist left and not right. When you tilt, the opposite reaction brings your legs up. And if you were to go far enough down and you get to this position, you would still be rotating backwards. And as you can see, our little guy here, being a left twister, would drop his left arm, tilt this way, all the way here, and to continue rotating backwards, he's now twisting left. And of course, the opposite to the right, you're doing a flip this way, you drop your right arm down, your body tilts this way. If you were to make it all the way to the side, you'd still be rotating backwards, but you are now twisting to the right. Now, if you want to get really messy, and this thing messes with me a bit too, let's say you manage to get yourself with tilts past this point and you start coming more on axis. Once you pass horizontal, does the tilt keep making you twist faster? Or does it make you twist slower because you're coming back on axis? And even more messy, if you do a normal rotation like this, you end up facing, of course, the same direction. If you are able to make it all the way 180 with tilts and you finish the rotation, you're now facing the other way. Let's not even go there. So good luck with everything. If there are more questions and a demand for more, I will be back once again with some more sports science and biomechanics. But for now, peace out. Straight body. Get in position.